that's why I have so much time for this. And I've been just doing minor stuff on the back end and getting started playing with what we could do for board. And yeah, I guess that's one.
Colin?
Hi, I'm AJ. I'm a soon-to-be unemployed developer.
Nice. Good for the project, I mean.
I currently been trying to revive Java Starter Snake, trying to bring that back from the dead and kind of update it to modern kind of the current standards.
Cool.
And I like photography and food.
Colin?
Cool. I'm Colin. I'm still employed, I think. I've been doing work on the engine back end. Yeah, that's about it. I like many things.
Cool.
Jam.
Well, Jam.
Yeah, I don't know. I like JavaScript stuff. I got some board ideas. If you have board ideas, let's chat a bit. I'm also very happy to have other people do a lot of the board ideas.
People on the phone here, you're okay? Yeah.
I'm Eric. I haven't been involved with the Battlesnake development yet, but I'm hoping to motivate myself to do some good pull requests. I think it's a good opportunity to mature my development skills in a larger team, as I haven't had that experience yet.
Cool. So I'm Will, VP Engineering at San Luis on kind of a management process for Battlesnake. So I'm trying to take as much of the management-y stuff off the hands of developers so you can focus on building things. Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm basically just a fly on the wall for the next 6 months. So I just want to see what everyone's working on and thinking of ways to pitch in where I can. I'm a QA dev at Send With Us, so I like QAing things. So if you want a second second set of eyes on things, poke me and I'll take a look.
Oh yeah, did you miss the standout last week? We have lots of ideas for Cypress tests and load testing and whatnot.
Amazing. Tag me on things.
Daniel?
Yeah, I'm Daniel, software developer at Send With Us. Mostly done work on the engine, maybe helping John out with the play as well.
Joe?
Hello, I'm Joe from GitHub. I'm on the education team. I was invited to this call by Brad. We sponsored Battlesnake recently and it was magical. So we'd love to see how we can support your ongoing community efforts. I'm not in the code yet. I'm a Haskeller, so I doubt I'll find any useful way to contribute, but I will give it a go at some point.
Cool. Adam, last but not least.
Oh, there we go. Hi. I'm Adam. I'm a front-end developer at Pixel Union. I haven't had an opportunity to contribute yet, but I absolutely will be.
Fantastic. All right, that's everyone. So in terms of updates, does anyone want to go? I haven't done anything, so that's my update. I've done nothing since last time we met, so I have nothing to add. Anyone? Daniel?
Yeah, I got WebSockets in the engine in the last week. So there's a new endpoint. I haven't got it in the Swagger spec yet, but there's a /socket/game ID. And that just opens a WebSocket and returns all the frames for the sockets. You don't have to pull the engine anymore. It just comes through the socket.
That's awesome.
Is that going to be in addition to or instead of?
In addition to right now. So you still have the ability to query specific frames if you had a reason to. I don't see any reason to get rid of that. The socket's just a nicety, so you don't do polling in any client. The data just comes through.
Cool.
Yeah, and the CLI has been updated as well to use the socket instead of polling as a test case.
Very cool. I'm gonna ask you for a demo for that again. So now when you run
nothing's changed on that, but I can. It works. Oh, I also tested that works on Windows.
Nice.
The CLI works great on Windows. The engine works fine on Windows. Just the UTF-8 food emojis don't show up properly. That's the only thing.
That's why I don't use Windows.
Microsoft.
What's that?
That's why we don't use Windows.
That's right.
Well, that hurts.
You can. You want a demo now, or do you want us to keep going?
Oh, you want a demo now?
We're ready. If not, we can keep going around the room.
I'm not ready. Give me a sec.
Keep going.
Go around.
I think we finished it.
Did anyone else do anything last week?
Oh, do we?
I did some stuff, but I don't know if it needs like a team announcement.
Yeah, tell us.
Tell us. Yes.
Well, so I made like a prototype of a board. It was kind of like for my own exploration. So I'm not like hung up on it being the actual starting point of the project. So I'd love to talk to you about what your ideas are.
Yeah.
And I got a pull request merged. I don't even remember what it was. Do you remember?
It was the file-based store for the engine.
Yeah. So if you go to if you run the engine and do like -- help, there's a new option now to choose which store option you want. It still defaults to in memory. So as soon as you shut down the engine, all your games are deleted. But now you can do like -- backend file, and it will store every game as a text file. So then you can replay games from the past, from different runs of the engine, and you could just transfer them to somebody else if you wanted to show someone else your game or something like that. That probably won't. I assume that's not going to be the final actual production backend. We'll probably use a real database. I'm guessing at some point.
Hopefully.
But so it's more like a persistent dev storage option.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, especially for like you could send someone a game, and they could like load it up and then like replay it if you wanted to. I don't know if people will actually do that, but it's cool.
That actually would be a good idea if you want to replay a game you last played. So you can like, if you want to do step by step, you could actually.
Yeah, and the intention was that you could then have this archive of games that if you wanted to use them for a training data set or test cases or something like that, that you'd have easy access to them.
Yeah, that was one feature. I don't know if we talked about this on GitHub, but it would be cool if like on the engine site or whatever, or the place, but if you're on the site, if you can just click a button and get like an export of the actual game from the server when you're running it online, so you can just keep pulling those.
And there's an issue on GitHub now as well to just add an API endpoint where you can get the all the frames of the game represented in JSON or something like that, so that even if we were using a different backend, you could still get the data in a useful way.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's
Well, what format is the file saved as?
I did it like 3 times, changing the format. It's actually just it's JSON, but every line of the file is a JSON object.
Okay.
So it's not actually a valid JSON file itself. Right. And the reason is because there's no other way, at least with JSON, to just append to the file. Right. So I wanted to make sure that at no state is it corrupt and unreadable. And so, I mean, it's not that crazy, but I would have to remove the square bracket at the end if it was a JSON array and then re-add it, and then it would be in a corrupt state in the middle. So I wanted to make sure that at any point the process just stops, like you unplug the computer. It should be able to at least read until the last turn that didn't fail. So if it was halfway through writing a turn, it would just ignore that turn and then bring you into the past by 1 turn. And it should always be able to read the file.
LD-JSON, line delimited JSON. It's a
Yeah.
totally format.
Yeah. So okay, cool. That's what it is.
Standard. DynamoDB uses it when you export data out of Dynamo.
Cool.
On that subject, do you guys have a standard that you agreed upon for save games yet?
No.
I'm curious. Like the
No.
format? Yeah, okay.
We do not.
Well, there's an interface in the engine, right? So the actual storage mechanism doesn't matter, right? So whoever implements a store can decide on the best storage format for that particular store. And then you have to translate in and out of the engine objects so that the engine can work on a common interface.
If you're interested in looking into it, in the .proto file, there's game and there's frame. So the file is just, the first line is the game, and every other line is the sequence of frame objects.
Yeah.
Cool. Go on.
I think I started work on a PR to merge. There's currently an engine binary and an engine CLI binary. And we're just going to push them all into one binary. I also created some issues. Added help wanted to a few of them.
Cool.
So if there's,
We'll review those.
so if anyone wants to grab some, there's some up there. With that, yeah.
I'm super out of date. I haven't been keeping up with all of the activity in the board. This is why I'm here tonight.
Cool. All right, so I think that's it for updates. Is everyone? Adam, I don't think you have any updates, right? I know you don't, Joe.
Not yet.
Okay. Are you ready, Daniel? Do a quick demo. Nice. Okay. Watch this magic.
Go.
Now with sockets, looks the same, but it's using sockets.
Yep, this is using sockets now.
Yeah, sockets. The game isn't ending.
Yeah, great.
There's something absurd about emojis in command line. I've never seen that before.
I agree with that, yeah.
It was more absurd when they were every frame was a different emoji. It was very psychedelic. Yeah, it's really cool. I really want this not to be the fallback for the actual 2019 Battlesnake. I must try really hard. I want to fall back to spreadsheets and the command line interface. I'm jinxing it. It's not happening.
Oh yeah, I also looked into colors for the snakes on the command line, and it's not so easy with terminals and colors to get RGB stuff. So I gave up after like 5 minutes.
Is there like a snake head emoji?
Yeah, I should look into that too. But yeah, there we go.
Very nice. Okay, so for those of you that aren't aware, I'm just going to walk through the repos quickly. So if you go to the Battlesnake.io organization, there are 6 pinned repositories, which are kind of the most important and useful ones. There are also a whole bunch of archive starter snakes, and each of these has an issue to fix them up and make them up to date with the Swagger spec that's in the documentation. But these are the roadmap. This is our issue repository. So the only thing we do in here is add issues and talk about issues. Then the documentation, which will be used to generate all the documentation. Community, which is a fairly important one. I'm going to go over a little bit of this with the new folks. Then engine, which you just saw running, which was the command line interface to the engine that manages all the data in the state. The board that is responsible for visualizing that. So it won't be the command line interface. It will be some kind of web property that Jen is going to talk a little bit about with Graham. And then play is the admin interface where you actually create and set up the game. So if you're interested in doing a battle snake, this is where you go to put in your URLs of your snakes and start the games and get the game ID out and track them and whatnot. In the community board, this is where we have all of our notes, all of our markdown files for how you communicate, how you contribute to the community, how you communicate the code of conduct, which we've stolen from the CNCF. Communication, Slack is on here, how you contribute, events that we're going to be hosting, frequently asked questions, there's only one so far. And then each of the repos has a section folder for its own information that you might want to put stuff in here. And then all of the meetings are posted in here. So every meeting is posted in here with meeting notes and a video to this meeting. Oh, this meeting is being recorded for those newcomers. So this will be posted online. It will be available on the internet, so be careful. So if you're new, please read the terms of the community code of conduct. That's important. If someone violates the code of conduct, there is a form that posts into a private Slack channel that will be reviewed by myself and a couple other people. So that's it for the community. In the roadmap repo, this is where all of our issues are. The issues tab is turned off on all of the other repositories, so you can't add issues to snakes or anything. Everything has to be centralized through here. The roadmap README has some links to the issues that filters by specific things. So each of the repos has their own link. Also filtered by milestone version 1. And then there's common ones for bugs, good first issues, issues with no labels that need triaging, and then all open PRs sorted in reverse chronological order by age, which we're going to go to next. For anyone that is on Zoom, if you have a question and you're not able to interrupt effectively, please use the chat. Don't use the raise the hand button, it's not effective. If you put something into the chat, it'll actually pop up on the screen and someone will address it. All right, so the pull requests by age. Base infrastructure for Battlesnake 26 days ago. Matthew is the only person that's really doing anything in this repository, so we're leaving him alone. I might nag him now, actually. Then we have the Starter Snake Python, which is waiting on some of John's work, which I believe he's completed now. Yep, that's been merged in. So John was writing a document about what tests we would want for the snakes before they're considered ready to release. So I think he's done that now, so I'll just ping Charlie. All right, these ones I don't know about. Colin, merge engine and engine CLI commands.
Yeah, I
Just
think
mentioned
that is in progress.
Okay.
We're working on that. I think Daniel gave me some feedback, and I need to do it.
Yeah, I think the only thing remaining is to update the Docker file to not
Oh, yeah, cool.
only have the one executable.
WebSocket support.
Yeah, so I didn't merge the PR, I just did it. Waiting for feedback, didn't get any. I'll probably merge it soon-ish.
Yeah. Ping controller less frequently. Graham.
Yeah, Colin approved this and Daniel rejected it. So I was like, oh, let them work that out.
That's fair.
What was that? Do you want to talk about it now?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Reminder.
it's probably fine to merge. My point is let's do something. I mean, I get what you're saying about orchestration, but maybe we need to put in like exponential back off for the let's do something smart around checking to see if the other services are up instead of just
And it's not even it's not like this is affecting anyone negatively right now.
Yeah.
If for people wondering, it's just if you start
there's a race condition on startup where if a worker starts before the controller, so these are just internal services inside the engine, you can get a lot of warnings in your console.
Yeah. So I mean, this one, I totally get the argument that this is maybe not the way we want to do it. This was my workaround so that I never got that stuff, so that race condition wouldn't pop up for me. But I'm totally fine with closing this and doing it differently. I don't really have a preference.
Yeah, or we can merge it and just create an issue to clean it up, right? I'm fine either way.
If we want, we could just remove that whole loop too.
Yeah, if there was anything I would want to fix right now, it would just be to make sure somebody else doesn't have fall in the same trap as me and then go down a rabbit hole to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So if we just got rid of the loop and made it a fatal error that said, this is a known issue, my bad, or something like that, that would even be an improvement to me.
Yeah, it'll also the whole there's other loops that are watching and will throw errors at a different level and that we'll retry with some sort of sleep in them. So I don't know. We'd see what happens if we just take that whole thing out. That was that was a half-baked idea by me that was thrown in there. So it could just be killed. I have no preference though. I'm fine with this as the way it is as a decent fix.
This is community development. There's no ownership going on. So who wants to make a decision here?
Well, I think we're leaving it up to Daniel for the call here.
All right. So Daniel.
Okay, let's just merge this. 'Cause I do really like the argument to not have people fall down other rabbit holes who run into this. But I'd also like another ticket created to improve this down the road.
That's good with me. I need to explore this new checks tab.
I want to investigate the checks tab and integrating that with the analysis stuff on the engine.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, right. So instead of having, how we have the code or the different comments from the static analysis, instead of doing that, if they integrate with the checks API, I'm sure Joker might be able to explain this better, but it shows up here instead of in the conversation.
That was a pretty good explanation.
Yeah, that was. I don't think I could do much better than that.
Yeah, Joe, actually, to that point, if you think, so this is our first kind of open source Gambit. We haven't done this a lot before. So if we're doing anything really dumb, please tell us. We would take
Sure thing. It all looks okay so far.
Okay.
It's very good to see it all happening in the open.
Yeah, one of the things we ran into early on that we copied the solution from the Kubernetes open source movement was we didn't want to add people to the roadmap as write collaborators. We only wanted to add them as read collaborators because you can do a whole bunch of damage as a write collaborator. But if you're a read collaborator, you can't assign yourself to an issue, and we did want that. And so I think somebody built a bot that allows us to add a comment. So if you're a read-only contributor, you can say, assign this to me, and then the bot who has write access will be able to assign that issue to them, and then they can take it so it doesn't get worked on by multiple people.
Neat. I was actually going to ask, have you folks looked at Probot or any of the Probot apps that are available and how they might help you?
Yeah, so we have a bot now. I don't know what it's based on. Our GitHub community bot.
Okay, cool. Do you mind if have you seen Probot?
No.
Okay, let me blow some minds. Can I steal the screen sharing?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Cool. So Probot is, call it a bot is a little bit actually not correct. It's a framework for GitHub Apps, the newer API. But it's a whole bunch, basically like all of the stuff that you used to have to hack into like a GitHub bot account, like a GitHub account that you made for a bot, is now possible through this new apps API. And this already has a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be super useful for you that you can install with one click. So like if we go to apps, and this is, it's built by GitHubbers, but it's run as like a separate open source project. And whenever someone builds a useful app, they basically add it here. So for example, settings is really useful. So if you have a set of labels that you want, if you have a set of labels, teams, and like settings. So for example, I noticed in that repo you just showed me that you had projects disabled. If that's something that you want across all of your repositories, the settings bot will allow you to do that. You have a settings file that you specify all of the settings that you're going to use, disabling wikis, disabling issues, what labels you want, and then the settings bot will watch your organization and make sure that all those repositories have consistent settings or watch a set of them. Equally, if you're looking to encourage new contributors in the future, there's the welcome bot that makes it really great to do that kind of thing. There's like a whole bunch of these I think are going to be super useful for you. Polls is another one. Like this goes on forever. Moving issues between your roadmap to other stuff. Yeah, you get the idea. And like a lot of these, so for example, if I were to go look at, I don't know, let's do the settings one. If I were want to install this, once they make it to this directory, they're basically being hosted as one click. You can then deploy them yourself on your own infrastructure, but they're also essentially being hosted as one click. So I can go and like install this on one of my repositories very simply just by going down to here and choosing a repository to install it on. So it's super easy to do this kind of stuff.
Amazing. That's fantastic. I feel like we're cheating now. We're doing open source community for the first time. We have someone from GitHub telling us how to do it. That's great.
Yeah, this is how we're doing like everything now. So I run a massive org with about 1,500 members, and they're all students who are taking like an online course that I've got on a GitHub repo because I hate myself. And that would just otherwise be completely unmanageable, but Probot just like makes it all auto magic. And there's a couple of really good examples. Like they're not Kubernetes, and like some of the older massive projects had built their own bot infrastructure before this framework came about. But like if you look at a lot of newer projects, so a lot of stuff in the Node.js ecosystem, for example, they're using these quite aggressively.
Fantastic. That's amazing.
Oh, and actually, sorry, last one. Leftpad, actually. So Leftpad, he's the guy who makes Babel. He actually just posted a really great blog post about using the issue lock bot and how that's helped them.
Cool. Issue lock bot. All right. Anything I would look at now? Anything labeled needs discussion?
We can't see your screen if we're supposed to just see it.
Should be. So we have this one. Dockerize play would be great to not have to install everything in the project in a virtual environment and manage Python versions, etc. Plus, we're going to be deploying this eventually. We need a containerized version of it. To do so, I would like to do this because I don't run Linux either. Brandon, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I started on this but abandoned it because I ran into something Docker issues. So whoever wants to take this, go ahead.
Well, we talked about it last week or the week before, and we decided not to go down the route of Dockerizing everything as like not to provide that as part of the infrastructure.
It's part of the development environment, right?
Yeah.
But as part of the final build, yes.
What do you mean by as part of the final build?
Like the Play app will be Dockerized, but not the develop.
Yeah. Like we'll provide a Docker container as a build artifact, but we're not going to provide a or a development environment via Docker.
Yeah. Except I would say unless anyone wants to take that on, then I can see.
We have to be careful there, right? Because if we say, if someone takes us on, we'll put it in. But by doing that, we're agreeing to maintain it going forward, right? So we have to be very conscious about what we do there with that.
That's true. Yeah.
But only as a fork that you have to continually rebase to.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to maintain a fork that provides a Docker development environment, that's totally cool. But like, I'm talking about the case where we brought that into the Battlesnake org. That's putting like, we now are willing to maintain this going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to maintain as little as possible.
Yeah, I could see it being really convincing in certain cases, I think, is all. Like if there's, I don't know, if someone steps up and is like, I'm going to maintain a Docker development environment for Play, I would be happy to let someone do that.
Yeah, but then they have to guarantee that they're going to keep it up to date for the next year, which they won't. They'll drop out after 3 months, and then it's on us.
Yeah,
or we then kill it.
But then you can just remove that from the repo.
Yeah.
Right?
Discussion from this now. Okay, that's it. So now we're on to open issues. Who wants to talk about what? I know, Jem, you were the person that said you wanted to talk about stuff.
Well, I see there's one issue open around the board, and some folks are itching to get some stuff started there. Go for it.
Okay.
You said you had something started already, so I'd love to check it out.
Okay. Yeah.
My only thing there was that I was thinking about just using something straight up like create a crack tab, because it's just clean and simple.
Mhm.
We don't have to manage our own battle config or anything like that. Do you have compelling reasons against?
I have no objection to that.
Cool. As I understand, we're hosting the game board itself has to be in an iframe, so we need like.
Ooh, it doesn't have to be an iframe. I'm sorry, I put technology choice in here, and I shouldn't have.
Somebody said somewhere that we want to host it in an iframe versus building out like a component that we drop into.
It's probably John. I mean, in my mind, the build artifacts of Play is like an HTML file and like static assets that could be run anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very similar to what you already did, Graham, I think. Like, Colin brought up a good point, like, because we talked a little bit about the URL the engine in the URL as a query param. And, like, being able to supply stuff that way, like, so it's just a static thing that you could run anywhere, whether it's an iframe or hosted on S3 or whatever. I think that's what we want the build artifacts to be out of the board. Because then it gives flexibility to embed it in lots of places.
Yeah. So the cool thing of Create React App is like the build script will give you an HTML.
I was wondering if like the sort of prototype I've made so far uses Redux, and I was wondering if that one A might be overkill, and B if it could make complications in embedding it in different ways. Like if the thing it's being embedded in doesn't use Redux, then
I don't foresee it being a problem, especially if we were to embed like a whole HTML page. Then
Right,
if we
right.
use like an iframe, then
no, yeah, if it's an iframe, it's not a problem.
yeah, then it doesn't matter. I think that with module scoping, like you could have multiple reduxes in a page. It would be
Yeah, I've never tried it. I wasn't sure.
I think it will work.
Yeah, I think this was the mistake I made. I said so it can be embedded in an iframe, but really what I meant was so it can be stateless.
Yeah, honestly, embedding an HTML page in an iframe is probably the easiest way to just like encapsulate everything.
Yeah.
And then we can just like feed it a parameter of some sort to know where the game is going to get the data from.
It also puts the fewest requirements on Play or whatever hosts the
Yeah.
control.
If I can interject for 1 sec, I do have. I don't know if this plays into this at all, so take this at face value. I do have for the Twitch stream and for any of the streaming requirements, for like the tournament and stuff. I know this isn't really part of the org, but there's a requirement to be able to run it in an iframe, which I think might have been why it was mentioned, but it wasn't for me.
Is that
I don't think that's a requirement though of the board. That's a requirement for running the tournament. Where I think if we get like a stateless output from the board, then we can solve that later.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it's probably not even part of this.
Yeah. As I see in those reading the requirements here, I forgot I also did cores on the engine. It's done this past week.
Cool.
Nice. Just fully open.
Yep, to everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, and
That's how
yeah,
it should be.
so like the board prototype I made wouldn't work without that. So
Yeah.
it is proof that it doesn't.
Cool.
and it works? What do you do for the?
It's just like a React component. It takes.
Do you want to demo it?
I might be able to do that.
Yay, another demo besides mine.
Yeah. I like all the demos.
Oh, and to update everyone who didn't hear this, I don't know whether I mentioned this in the last community meetup, but we did get the $100,000 from Google. So we have $100,000 of compute engine credits against this. So, yeah. So we can build a fairly beefy system with that for the one day that we need to run it.
It should be enough. Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
What happens with the leftover?
Goes back to Google. Somehow. We're going to try and use Google to,
I'll make sure there's nothing left over.
I mean, zero left, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, a Bitcoin miner in the code in the engine.
Reality.
Yeah.
No. VR is like 2013, man. Right. Gotta go.
All right. So what's that Wi-Fi password again? Orange something.
Orange Fort Douglas.
Rock that hologram.
We'll change now because that's recorded. Damn it.
Rotate that.
Yeah. It's a good thing we're using one password now, otherwise that would have been a nightmare.
Do you have to change one password to a different one because you said it then?
No. That's like security. That's not good.
Right, we're using one password written on a sticky note, right?
No, a password is one password. That's it.
Just
Has numbers and letters.
That's also true. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about?
I know you pinged Matthew on that PR. Do you want to track as an issue getting a engine deployed to Google Cloud, Play deploy, like the initial deploy stuff as part of the launch milestone?
Yeah, I will do that right now.
And is there anything that we're missing in issues that we need for the launch milestone?
Probably.
Karen, do you have like all the build stuff set up in your repo already?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Yeah, I do. Basically.
Yeah, like would it be painful to migrate over to something like pretty racked out?
I don't think so. No. I mean, because that stuff and the scaffolding and whatever isn't complicated. It's like the actual control I would just move over.
Did you link to your stuff anyway that I should have seen this?
I haven't made a pull. It's a fork of the actual repo, but it's I haven't made a pull request or anything.
Okay. Because I'd love to check that. The only thing that I was trying to slow down a little bit was who's the other guy who was working on the board?
I think it was it Charlie? I think it was Charlie.
Lewis.
It was Lewis, sorry.
Lewis, yes. We had like that repo had like an Express server and a bunch of other stuff. So I just wanted to
I took all that
down
out.
a little bit of that. Yeah.
Good start. There we go.
I like my pretend I'm Jen from.
Share screen. Cannot share screen because Wayland is not supported. Please use that.
Oh yeah, you're on Linux. Linux has issues.
It like gives us your face.
How do you like Wayland? Maybe that's a sign.
Meh.
Because of this issue.
Actually, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I can post this as like a GIF on the Slack channel or something.
Sure. Let's do that.
Yeah, or I mean, share a link in the issue or something like that, so that you can start to check it out. Yeah, I
If you want to see, I have it running.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Whoop. All right. There we go.
nice.
So like you can see the URL has
That was
the
fast.
the engine and the game ID in it.
Yeah.
Could it go any faster?
So I think so. Yeah, it can go faster. Um,
Have you put a turn delay in your code?
sorry.
Have you put a turn delay in your code?
Yeah. I've made some changes since this version. Like I fixed some bugs, and when I update it to use WebSockets, then it'll be a lot better. Because right now, if you're actually, you can play the game live, like while it's happening, but because it's just reading pages, it'll like do a bunch of turns and then pause, and then do a bunch more turns and then pause, unless you get turned to like exactly with what's happening in reality. So once I switch it to be WebSockets, then it'll kind of be more like what you'd expect. So yeah, this is just a like as simple as a React Redux component you could imagine to do this. And I actually just update this entire grid each frame, but because React is so smart about updating the DOM, it's still
That's
really fast.
amazing. Yeah, it's drawing all those divs every time.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's just like colored divs then.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worthwhile to switch to SVG instead?
You can control, like you can do a very similar thing with SVG elements instead.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I figured it wouldn't be that hard to convert it. I just, it's kind of,
And the big benefit to SVG is we have a lot of the existing head tail assets are already ready to go.
yeah.
Yeah, so there we go.
no, this looks great. I love it.
Awesome.
So far.
Do you wanna look at the code, or do you wanna save that for some other time?
Let's do a
Well,
group
yeah.
code review.
Do you want to do it right now? I would rather spend a little bit of time just like thinking through it. If that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's everything I wanted to cover off. Is there anything else anyone else wants to talk about? Adam, Joe, anyone else? You just want to take? Cool.
It's been very fun. Thank you for letting me sit in on this.
No, absolutely. I'm going to follow up, Joe, with about 1,000 questions. So expect if you could join the Battlesnake Slack, that would be fantastic.
Oh, that looks amazing.
I am in it somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure what my login is, but I will find out.
Probably scrolled off your list of Slack accounts.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Thank you, folks. We'll post the meeting notes later on tonight.
Thank
Everyone-
you.
All right.
Hey.